Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another Top Cut tournament report, and you did read that right. I do believe this is going to be my last Skilless video, and what I mean by that is it's going to be probably my last personal Skilless video. Like, if someone else tops the deck and has a really interesting build and things like that, they get top cut or they win an event, I definitely want to get them on the channel and interview them, get to pick their mind and things like that. But as far as me personally, I think this is going to be the last time I pilot Skilless at a big event. I can't necessarily say it's the last time I'll ever play the deck, because I do enjoy the deck, but honestly, I've been playing this deck for months and months and months now. If you guys have been following the channel ever since the Chicago celebration, I've been playing this deck for so long, different variations. It started off with mono blue, or I guess you can say blue-black Skilless. When I didn't really want to play the deck, we were trying to decide what deck to play for our team composition, me and two of my other Shenron's Lair teammates, and I was kind of the more go with the flow member. Like, I know that Marcus really wanted to play Super Shenron, and he was really good with the deck, so we gave it to him. My teammate Jose really wanted to play red Vegeta Baby, when I was also tinkering with Vegeta Baby a lot at the time, and it didn't leave a lot of options for me, so I decided to go with blue Skilless. This is like one of the first weeks it came out. I was really not sure how powerful the deck would be, but I won almost every single one of my games at that Team Wars. We ended up getting 4th place. It was a really impressive event for me to pilot the deck. I really saw how powerful it was, and I know a lot of people right now don't think it's that strong. I definitely don't think this was the right call in Super Shenron format, but in the format we've been in since Super Shenron's been gone, this deck, to me, is just stellar. Like, it draws probably the most in any deck this format. My only issue with it is sometimes when you don't open ball, you have a really big problem on your hands. But I changed the list a little bit from the ARG Invitational 3rd place list that I had. I ended up getting top 8 at the Richmond Regional, so I got my invite to Nationals, so I will see you all there. Super stoked I got the invite. Top 8, which is some more icing on the cake. That was super awesome. And I'm not going to go over the entire deck profile, but I am going to go over the main changes so you guys can kind of compare from the last video to this video, because I just did the deck profile last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago, for the Invitational, so I feel like it's a little bit redundant, but I am going to go into the tournament report full-fledged in this video. And yeah, this is going to be, I guess, the send-off to my career playing Skilless, at least for the foreseeable future. I can't see myself playing this deck, especially with set 7 coming out. The next event I'm going to that I know of is Gen Con, which set 7 will be legal for that event, so I'm really interested to start testing set 7. Maybe I'll be doing some live streams throughout the next few weeks to get ready for that, build some decks, things like that. Let me know if you want to see that in the comments below. But with that being said, we'll go over the major changes here. So first major change you might notice, I finally changed Dende out for Sorbet. Sorbet is just the better pick overall. When I was testing for ARG Invitational, I was testing Dende Frieza, so my foil Sorbets were in the Dende Frieza deck, and I just forgot to change them out before I wrote my deck list for Skilless. So in the Skilless build from Invitational, I had Dende, now I have Sorbet. It's just a better pick because it does have 5k. That was actually relevant once. Over the course of the weekend, I punched one of my opponent's Skilless Gokus, the 1-drop Adventure Begins, who decided to attack me with it on the previous turn. So if that was Dende, I would have had a combo into it to kind of kill that Goku. But I was able to give up a Sorbet for a Goku, basically trade a resource for a worse resource. So that was relevant. I'm glad I changed it, otherwise that play would have been a little bit worse. But then we have the addition, in addition to the Sorbet, I added an additional ball to the deck. So one thing you might notice, if you remember last time's deck profile, I was playing 3 Godly Destruction Whis. I decided to cut the card all together. It was nice to get that draw, and sometimes when you're going to awaken, you don't have like a good 1 energy play that you can just play down, do something valuable, and then awaken just to get used to that energy. But I decided to bite the bullet on that because the punishing untap wasn't super relevant. It would have kind of been nice in my top 16 match where I was playing against a mono blue Skilless aggro mirror, but I ended up not needing it. Luckily I won. But regardless, I cut that, added the 4th ball, and also I added the battering laser from the sideboard to the main board. This is a good choice. I was very happy I added this because it won me a few games. And then I added the 4th source of power to the main deck. So basically the 4th source of power I felt like was needed because 3 might have felt like a lot for some people, but for me, in the worst matchups, mostly being Shenron Gogeta, when you don't see source of power and your opponent's not giving you cards off your life so you can't cycle through things as fast, you just needed the 4th source of power. And honestly, this deck felt really aggressive, and it basically did what I wanted it to do, and the 4th source of power was basically that move in the right direction. So I went from starting with mono blue Skilless, now I've come to this blue yellow variant, and I feel like I've really helped Skilless evolve, and a lot of people tech source of power this weekend, and I think it was a great choice. Like, just sometimes on those turn 3 awakens, going source of power when you're at a vanilla in graveyard, maybe putting yourself to 6 or 5 life, awakening, putting a bean on the source of power to get energy back up, maybe for a 1-drop Goku effect, or maybe for a Fearless Assault Krillin, or maybe for a Training Buddy Krillin. Having that 25k beater swing twice was just so strong, whether it's swinging at battle cards or it's swinging at your opponent's leader to put pressure on. It was just so good. I love the build where it's at right now. If I was going to continue to play this deck, I probably wouldn't change the build at all, especially in the current format, because I do think that this build really helps you leverage that Shenron Gogeta matchup, which in my opinion is the worst matchup. So we'll talk about the sideboard. Minus Killy Zone, pretty much irrelevant after this event. If you're going to, I don't think there are any events actually until after the ban list, like Pasadena I think is the next one, and at Pasadena the ban list will be in effect. So minus Killy Zone, kind of irrelevant, but I wanted it for Green Broly, but now Green Broly can't really even play Cold Bloodlust. I'm not even sure if playing Green Broly with yellow anymore is going to be worth it. They will have Preemptive Strike, but it costs them more energy, just to keep that in mind. Fourth power burst, really good in the mirror match for grinding, really good against Green Broly once again. A lot of times my negates actually got sided out, especially against like Janemba or Broly Head of Mastery or Shenron Gogeta, believe it or not. Like, I didn't want to play the strategy of hoping to draw into a negate. I wanted to play the strategy of I'm going to put everything in my deck that can help me kill them. Then we had the one Cronoa. So the one Cronoa was here to respect Shugesh, but I had to make concessions for other cards, mostly for my worst matchup, which I'll get to in a second. Haru, I cut it down to 2 from 3. I didn't expect to see as much Green Broly, and I was correct. I played against it 1 round, and it was fine. I ended up winning, thankfully. The 4 Force Ejection Mass Sand. This was the card I wanted in at 4 because it leverages your worst matchup even more, which is Shenron Gogeta. Shenron Gogeta is the worst matchup for this deck. If you can't kill them on turn 4, Gogeta is probably going to kill you on the clapback, which is unfortunate. But Force Ejection Mass Sand, if you guys don't remember how this works, he checks the energy difference between you and your opponent in the charge phase, and he remembers it for the entire turn. So if I hardcast a Force Ejection Mass Sand, I warp one of my opponent's energy, and then I can overwhelm out a second one in the same turn. I can warp another energy in that same turn. So really clutch for setting Shenron Gogeta back so they can't get a win condition against you. It's super strong, setting them back to 2 energy. But even the 1 Force Ejection is really good, whether you overwhelm it or hardcast it, because there's a 15k body that buys you another turn. They probably can't clear it unless they have Purunga. It was really good all weekend. It was really good in testing. It was really good over the course of the weekend. Mass Sand for the mirror match. Fu the Dark Banisher for Janemba, basically. Also kind of good in the mirror match, but I do wish I sided Tien. I really didn't think Skilless needed Tien, but without the Gogeta bomb in this deck that I'm obviously not playing, I kind of wish I had Tien's just for the fact it's a 1-drop 15k body. I mean, the not being able to untap is also really good, but Janemba can play around it, obviously. But the Tien, I think, would have been clutch because I did lose in top 8 to Butters playing Janemba. Shout out to Butters. Great match again. And then the 1 Godstrike Beerus. I will forever probably side this card in Sensu Bean decks because this card just, it wins you games straight up. Like, it really just does win you games. Baiting your opponent to go all in on an attack, they got to play around it, or they got to go with their leader, and it was just really good all weekend. So right now I'm going to crack open the tournament report so I can tell you guys how the weekend went. I was very lucky to win to top this event because of kind of how the tournament structure was. It was a little weird, only 4 rounds with about 90 players. Realistically, it should have been, I believe, 6 rounds to get 1 undefeated, but we ended up going with 4 rounds for whatever reason. I really don't know. I can't speak on it, but I went X1, and it was kind of scary to be X1 on the bubble, but luckily I made it in top cut and then made it to top 8. So round 1, I played against U7 Victory Strike, and I lost. So this was a very scary moment because I knew that with 4 rounds, X1 would be on the bubble. So starting off with a loss was really rough. This is against Matt Sublet, who is a very good player. He's been playing U7 Victory Strike a lot this format. So game 1, I aggroed him for the win. It was pretty straightforward. Game 2, I forced ejection him, but he was able to resolve Victory Strike on 4 energy with the Dash Pack Goku Lineage promo, the one that if you're at 3 or less life, it becomes a 4-drop, but on board it's a 5-drop, so you can do your Victory Strike shenanigans with 4 energy. Basically, I hit him down to 1 life. He took it because he knew I couldn't kill him that turn, and then he did that, and I lost to Victory Strike, which was rough. Game 3, I did not hit a Dragon Ball after hard mulling for it. Drew 6, didn't see it, put my hand of 6 back, didn't see it again, couldn't play the game. Nothing I really could have done, and I was really disheartened because I upped the ball count to 11, which I know most people in this game don't play 11 ways to get to a Dragon Ball in Skilless. And it was really disheartening because I was able to go first. The game plan again was to aggro my opponent, and I just couldn't really play, so that was unfortunate. And one of the reasons I don't really want to play this deck anymore because I think it is super powerful, but the dependency on the 4-star ball is just too much, and I'm kind of done not opening it and worrying about it. So just that being said, I do think 11 is a great number of Dragon Balls, but it's going to happen from time to time. Round 2, Vegeta Baby. Game 1, I got blown out by aggro into Chain Zeno, and really this was eye-opening to me because I usually don't main deck Chain Zeno in my Vegeta Baby lists, but this player was able to aggro me so strong with like the 1-drop Baby Chain, just double striking me, forced me to take damage because it was very early game. It was on like 2-3 energy where I was either tapped out or had no good defense, and then he would Chain Zeno me, so he blew me out. Luckily, I was able to win games 2 and 3. Just very lucky in that sense. So I was 1-1 at this point. Still, I could not afford a single loss in the next 2 rounds. I also could not afford to draw either, because drawing would guarantee that I would not make top cut. So round 3, I got paired up against my teammate Jamal and won. Shout out to Jamal. I love my team. Shout out to Sherman's Lair. You guys are the absolute best. It was a great game. And then round 4, I got paired up against Green Broly, and I got the W. It was a great match, really grindy, like the matchup tends to be. I just played defense until I was able to go hard enough with Bean, D-Banisher, and Killy Zone. So yeah, game 1, obviously I don't have Killy Zone in the main deck, so I just try my best to go as wide as possible, bait out the pops. I try and play defense as much as possible with Mutaito and Power Burst until I'm about 4 energy deep. I can go with the D-Banisher Fu. If they tap out for Tragic Awakening, it's even better, because then I know they can't Bloodlust me. D-Banisher will deal with one of the possible 2 6-drop Brolys, which is really nice. Game 2, Killy Zone into Haru. Haru makes it a whole lot easier, like really easy, as long as you draw the right cards, and it was really clutch for me. Then we go to the next day, top 16. I'm playing against the Mono Blue Skilless mirror match, but this is not a Gogeta 7 variant, which I was very happy about, because honestly the mirror match gets very grindy. You do get to 5-6 energy in the mirror match, and if he was playing Gogeta 7, it might have been more of a blowout, because he just had that bomb card that would be able to reset my hand, but he was not playing the card, so it was a straight aggro mirror match basically. Funnily enough, an aggro mirror match went to like 5-6 turns, but we were basically playing vanilla beatdown, and I had the yellow advantage, so I had like a little bit more crit pressure than him. I had Source of Power to put more pressure on. Eventually, we went to time in game 3, and I was able to put him on at 4 life the turn before the last turn. So my opponent got the last turn. He tried to double strike me from 5 to 3, so my super combos weren't live. And at the end of time, if you don't know, whoever has the higher life count wins the match basically, because that's how the tiebreaker is determined, which is, I think it's totally fine how it's determined. But with that being said, my opponent tried to put me from 5 to 3 with a double strike, and luckily I was able to out combo it. It was his last turn, so the game was over after that. I won the match at 5 life to his 4 life, and then I advanced to the top 8, where I played Devin Butterworth, aka Butters. He was playing Janemba, and I haven't faced Janemba in a premier event in a pretty good time, in a pretty good amount of time now. I didn't face it at all in ARG Invitational, and I faced it for the first time this weekend in top 8. That's why my sideboard wasn't so prepped for it. I know people have been falling off the deck, but Butters is a dedicated Janemba player, one of the best Janemba players probably in the game. And yeah, I just couldn't push through all the defense. Like in game 1, I was basically 5k short of killing him, and then in game 2 he just had all the defense. He had the strivings, he had the Kami to clear my board. That was pretty unfortunate, but nonetheless the objective was achieved. I got my nationals invite, I got into the top 8, so another good top that I'm very proud of. Thank you guys all for supporting me. Thank you PPG for throwing an absolutely amazing event. Again, I do think this is the last time I'll play Skilless for a pretty good while. Maybe in the future, maybe a few sets come out, maybe I'll come back to the deck, maybe I'll revisit it. But I do think the Skilless engine's actually got a home in some other decks, like namely Toa. So that's going to be kind of interesting to mess around with. I'm pretty excited to take this deck apart, to be honest, because like I said, it has been a while, but this deck has treated me very well. It took me to 3rd place at the ARG Invitational, took me to top 8 at the Richmond event, took me to top 4 in teams at Chicago. I really am thankful to this deck, as weird as it might sound, thankful to a pile of cards. This deck really took me a long way, and it taught me a whole lot about the game. This deck is really good at teaching you how to manage resources. So if you feel like you need to get better at the game, if you feel like you need to learn how to read situations better, I do recommend Skilless. I do recommend this build in particular. I think even going into next format, this build is going to be very good, even better potentially, because going up against Height of Mastery Victory Strike, which it's not a favored matchup for this build, but it is like I guess you can say a more poor matchup, although the aggro version of this deck I think has a great matchup. But basically, long story short, they're not going to have Battering Laser anymore. They're not going to have minus Killy Zone anymore. So as long as you keep a yellow up for Mutaito, it's always going to be live. They will not be able to kill you that turn as long as you pressure them to awaken on turn 3. Because what they can do is drop Height of Mastery. They can then evolve Victory Strike on top, and then they can restand it with their leader because it's a new card. But if you force them to awaken on turn 3, They cannot do that. They cannot physically do that. So Mutaito will always be live. Then you just clean up the Height of Mastery with the Banisher Fu, and you're going to be good from there. Shenron Gogeta, still going to be a tough matchup. Mutaito will always be live, which is nice, but getting that hand reset to 3 is pretty tough to deal with, I won't lie. But let's just say they Gogeta you, you Mutaito it, they can't kill you that turn. Let's just say they're at 1 life because you pressured them so hard, and then they Gogeta 7, crit themselves to 1. If you can luckily redraw into a ball, get some draw power back, get a little bit of combo power, go for game, you should be okay. So I do think this deck is well positioned going forward. I'm not quite sure how it interacts with set 7 yet. Now that this event is over, I'm going into full set 7 testing mode, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys again so much for the support. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Alright, now that you guys finished watching that video, they should have never banned fucking Child's Wish. They shouldn't. Super Shadow was the best deck in the game. Super Shadow was the best!